And I reach forward and I grab him by the neck and I look him in the eyes. Human, you have much to learn.
Welcome to Bazanar, where great rivers flow and tall mountains rise, where the immortal gods pull the strings, and towering civilizations and inexorable armies wage war, where darkness and light, fairies and furies, war and peace all struggle to survive. These are the stories of Bazanar, the commanders and heroes, the mages and swordsmen and monsters. Enter a new history.
And we're back. Good morning, Daniel.
Heck yeah, Peter, I am ready to do this. Let's do this.
Yes, that's what I'm hearing. All right, listeners, this is now episode 9. We are so glad you are here, and we have just one phrase to give to you. Welcome to Bazanar.
Heck yeah.
All right, so last we left off, a lot of bloodshed. A lot of bloodshed. Any of our new listeners, don't start here. So... Dearest Daniel, Avaevat has left off, slightly injured, but stitched up, and entering into a feast thrown by the Archaean soldiers to celebrate their victory. Their victory over the tribe of Oweadi and their allying tribes that all stood against you in their village on the hill of Oweadi.
This was the final battle, yes?
Of this year, of this campaign. This campaign has been going on for a decade or more. And you're able to tell now, based on what you know, that you are settling down for the winter. Your army is settling down for the winter. The war chief is going to do some political things, clean up some, the last strands, rebels, yada yada. But the soldiers, the main army, they're finishing up. There is still beyond the mountains to conquer, and you know this. There is more to do, and they don't seem to be willing to stop. Well, for the season, you're done.
Okay.
You enter into this big feast area, and it's just there's a tent without walls. There's a nice term for that. There's a tent without walls, thrown up, a few of them, over tables, and the soldiers are there, and food has been set out by some of the camp followers, and most of this is food. Some of it's rations, some of it you got while hunting, while in the camp. Most of it has been looted from the city. And you're all there, and you sit by Gadeo and by Lace. And the food before you is it smells so good. You've been working on stale bread. Every now and then you'll be able to catch a rabbit, give you some flavor, but mostly it's just camp rations. And this, fresh vegetables, fresh fruit, fish even, which I haven't seen since you got here on Bazanar. Meats, a few of them are spiced well. Wine is there. Different ales are there. Fresh water is there, and it's just the table is covered. Even fruits, I don't know if there are fruits and vegetables. The table is covered with this fresh, delicious, steaming food.
Ugh, in my mouth water. I'm hungry.
You're welcome. You can go eat dinner later.
Who am I eating with?
You are eating with again. Gadeo and Lace are on both sides of you. Your squad. I'm sorry. Your platoon, squad, non-cohort is on either side of you.
Indeed.
Yeah. Gadeo looks pretty fit. He's still pale, and he just seems like overall weak. But he's smiling with the rest of them. He's not as audacious or rambunctious as the rest of the soldiers, but he's smiling and laughing with them.
How's Lace doing? I want to know how my happy friend is.
Lace is drunk. He is certainly drunk. He is already. You just got there. He's already drunk, and he's just throwing his mug of ale in the air and shouting cheers. Hey, 3 cheers for War Chief Arachion! Hey, and the Archaean army! Hey, and all glory to Balkov! Hey! And he's just shouting. He's joining in every cheer. And he's singing songs with the people passing by. He's having a blast. He is truly having a blast.
This is the reason I'm on this planet is for Lace. Okay.
He's my man.
Good guy. Okay. I want to dig in. How are my wounds doing right now? Like all these gashes and stuff.
They've been closed, and you don't want to move too quickly, or else they'll reopen. But you have almost full range of motion, and as long as you move at a reasonable rate, you're gonna be fine. So you continue to eat. You pile all this food onto your plate. It is good. Ever since you've landed on Basildon, you have been surviving off of stranger sleeping place stew, burnt deer, wild berries, and root vegetables, army camp following. This food is the best you have ever tasted in your entire immortal life to this day. It is so good. It is so good. And you just start consuming it at a rapid pace. And as you do, you realize that actually Gadeo is staring at you.
He is? Okay. He seems to have... Well, he was shot last episode. What... Does his side, like, is it exposed? Like...
He's wearing a shirt that covers up where his wound would be.
Okay, cool. Well, I look over at him. Does he seem interested?
He's almost trying to look, almost as if he's looking for words to say. He's almost like, you can see almost a visual stutter in his eyes. He wants to say something, but he just doesn't know how. And he looks away and looks back at you, and then eventually he leans over and just asks, Avox'Amar, I know I got shot, but there's no wound. What happened?
Yes, you were shot. I saw. Do you want to know why you don't have a wound anymore?
He nods pretty eagerly. He's like, yeah.
Okay. Let's go somewhere a little bit more private. Somewhere we can talk openly.
And he kind of like looks around, like confused about why the other soldiers are suspicious. But he follows.
Okay.
And you tap Lace on the shoulder and say, "I'll be right back." And Lace doesn't even recognize who you are. He's like, "Mother!" And you walk away. And he continues, and no one seems to notice you or Gadea are leaving.
Okay.
People are going back and forth, not consistently, but enough that you're not suspicious. And you go off and you go between some of the tents, and you find an area that's pretty quiet. And in the night sky, the stars are above you. You're pretty well hidden.
Okay. In this darkness, I say, okay. Good day, you. There is much I have to tell you, but in summary, yes, you were shot, and you were bleeding out on that field. You had bandaged yourself up by the time I had come to you. I healed your wound. I closed the injury, and it left a scar to remind you so that there would be less suspicion. But yes, you were shot, and you were healed.
How did it happen? Who are you to just heal a wound?
That is the question I have been waiting for you to ask. Hideo, I am no mere man. I am a god.
His eyes widen. Like, but gods cannot walk the earth.
Well, this one can. My name is Avox'Amar. And I am here to gather followers. I am a god of death.
His face, already pale, pales further, and he actually kneels in front of you, just out of fear. He seems to recognize the power of a god of death.
I want to reach in to chaos and pull out energy, and I want to pat him on the shoulder and like think of courage, and I want to try to infuse him with courage and give him the strength to get back on his feet and lose some of that color in his face.
So you pull on this and just pull back on the chaos, and your reserve is pretty low from the battle, and you've had some time to rest, but still you're not exactly tip-top shape. But you do pull out and you pat on his back, and you see the color return to his cheeks immediately. And he stands up in shock as it seems his blood has returned to a normal amount. All the blood he lost is back.
Oh, okay.
He stands in shock. And he's so, what did you do to me?
Gideo, as a god of death, I do not like to see people die when it is not their time to die. As a god of death, you have a lot of control over when one dies and when one does not. You fought bravely, and I am here to offer you this choice. Do you, Gideo, of the Archeon tribe, wish to join me, Avox'Amar, as my first follower on this planet? I have not been here long, but I will assure you there are great rewards to be had, and there's much power to be gained.
He just looks at you. And in his eyes there's non-belief, but also just awe. And there seems just so many emotions playing in his mind right now as he looks at you. And he just stands there stunned for a few seconds, and then he finally says, "You're really a god, aren't you?" And then he just kind of like holds his head in his hands in just shock. And then says, okay, what must I do?
I stand up to my full height and try to embody all it means to be a god. I just laugh and I'm like, for now, Gideo, there is nothing to be done. We must feast. We have helped the fate of many to their end today. There has been enough done today. I ask only that you follow me, and more will be said and done at a later time. But I can see greatness in you, and I wish you to be part of my cause.
My lord, what of Balkoth?
Balkoth has enough followers. I was a friend of his back before the gods were evicted.
So that's real. You heard stories of those days. Those days are real.
Yes, they are. They were.
His face again just clouds in shock.
The War of the Gods was something to be seen. I can assure you of that. There was much bloodshed, both of gods and men. But a time has come of a new era. And I want to bring more order to the death in this world. Are you with me?
He nods. And you can tell he's nodding. He's following you more out of shock than anything else, but you did just do magic in front of him and changed his body while he was awake. So he believes you, and he's afraid of not following you. That much is clear.
Okay, so far so good.
He nods. He doesn't say anything, but he nods.
However, I would like to make my presence known by myself, so I would appreciate it if you would not talk about these things. I smile at him with, meaning in my eyes. Don't talk about these things.
And he shakes his head. He's like, no, mother, no, you're not. No words said. All secrecy.
In time, I will teach you how to do magic and how to pull on the connection between this world and the others. But for now, let us feast and drink. I'm still in a human body.
And that was some dang good food.
And that was some dang good food. And I walk back to the camp.
All right, you just turn around and walk back, and he kind of follows at around 15 paces, just almost giving you breathing room or just space for your godhood. But he does follow eventually, and you make it back to the table almost. But as you are going, a figure steps out of the shadows and takes you by the shoulder, and not as a threatening way. He just kind of stops you, and you look at it, and with your eyes, you can see it's actually Irasu, the veteran.
This is the one I did this a spear duel with, and who I saw on the battlefield. Yes.
Yes, the same one.
Okay.
The one had you actually broke in front of him, right in front of him.
What does
So
he have to say?
a very good. He looks at you, and then he looks at Gadeo, who's following behind you, and he just says to Gadeo, "Hello, friend. Could me and Avox'Amar have some time alone?" And Gadeo looks at you for confirmation.
I nod. And
Okay, and then he walks back to the table again, just wordlessly. But you do recognize there is a solid amount of pep in his step.
Okay.
He seems to be enjoying the fact that he's healed.
That's good. That's good. Okay.
Araso, he sees him leave. And then he kind of just watches him go, and then he turns to you and just says, "Avox'Amar, how did you get the blessing of Balkoth?"
The blessing of Balkoth? What do you mean?
"I saw you on that wall, what you did to those archers. You moved like a god. How did you get the blessing of Balkoth?"
Are we in like a private place?
You are about 10 feet away, I would say 30 feet away, 40 feet away from the tables. Definitely can't hear you with all the noise. You're about 10 feet away from the torchlight.
Let's
So people can see you if they look, but they wouldn't if they're not looking.
Eraso, let us move back into the shadows. There's the answers to your questions are not found in the light.
He follows you. Very suspicious, and you can see his left hand is actually on his belt,
yeah.
where you would assume his dagger is.
Yes.
But he does follow.
Once they're about a good distance away, I turn around and I'm like, "Okay, Eraso, I am not blessed by Balkoth."
Then how can you do these things?
You said I'm out of chaos, yes?
You're getting close. You're not quite out.
Okay. So, shoot. There's grass under us, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to reach for the grass. I don't want to pull out life, though. I want to pull out the death that's in the grass. I'm looking specifically like at the dead grass, the white and grainy stuff. And I want to pull and try to coalesce it into my hand.
All right, you pull out just about the last bit of chaos you have, and you're really working your body. You might be able to do one more thing, but it would not be pretty to do it. But you manage to get a good amount of chaos in your system, and you reach out with that chaos, and you can sense the grass. You can sense intimately the grass that is more dead than others, and you collect that death all around you, and just pull it up into your hand. And you're noticing now that the grass doesn't actually. The strands want to stay. The grass is very weak, but now so are you. You can see that that's actually pulling back. Not enough to stop you, but you can sense it's reserved to be taken. But you do take it, and you get it into your hand. And in the nighttime, no one can see, but all of the grass that's dead around you just springs to life.
Okay, I take it, and I hold my hand up in front of Eraso, and I slam it into the ground. I want to just spread this death through the grass as far as I can with what I have in my hand.
So the death doesn't actually go into the grass. It goes into the grass below your hand, which dies instantly and just shatters into black dust, and also goes into the earth. And the black earth becomes sandy and rocky, and just crumples up into this infertile, this rocky soil that's almost clay-like, into a soil that nothing could grow into. And there's this section of dirt and grass about a foot in diameter that is just dead all the way down.
I reach down into what was once this grassy plain, and I pull out this dead, sandy, rocky soil. I lift it up and I say, and also, as I pour it out of my hand, so it drips out like an hourglass. I am Avox'Amar, the god of death. Not many know who I am, or that I am here on this earth. I am a god in this human form. I am no servant of Balkoth. I did, however, know him in the days gone by. He is the god of war and destruction. I am the true god of death. So, to answer your question, I need not Balkoth's power when I have my own.
In the darkness, even though your eyes are acquainted to the starlight, in the darkness his face is still unreadable as he stares at you. And his hand is still at his side. He stares at you, and he stares at this rocky substance coming from your hands that was not there a moment ago. The land around you is actually quite fertile, but you have just turned it into death. And he's still for a second. And he says, "So, I suppose you're not from the north, then?"
No, but where I am from is not important.
Reckon you're about where Balkoth is from. You're really a god of death.
I chuckle. I have
one question for you. If you do claim to be a god of death, then tell me this. How is it that a god walks on Bazanar?
There are powers, young human, which you do not understand, and I cannot... Your mind would not understand if I were to try to explain it to you. However...
He snorts. He said, "The priests always say that."
However, I look at him with, like... his impetuance. I am still a god. I may not be the god of death, but, you know, I am still a god. This guy's... whatever. You have impatience for a human speaking to a god. Although, I do admire your observation. I am here to grow my following and to expand the number of my servants.
Impertinent. Continue.
Shh, Peter. Shh, I'm in the middle of something. You think you can understand such things, and in time you will. If, and I pause for a second, if you choose to join me, Avox'Amar, god of death, as my second follower.
He perks up at that. Who's the first?
That is not the right answer. The right question, Eraso.
The way I'm seeing it, you're hiding from someone. You don't want the world to bow before you, as makes sense that a god would. Then you're hiding for some reason, and makes sense to me to follow you. But I would like to be credited as a first follower.
Okay. I see ambition in you, Eraso. Okay. You are now my first follower. In time, we will see who is the better between you.
We'll have to know eventually who this other is.
Oh, you will. In time. And with time, I will teach you of things beyond what humans know. I will teach you to do the things that I have done in battle, and much more. servant of Avox'Amar.
I'll be expecting that then, my lord, he says with a tinge of sarcasm. But he says it all the same.
Indeed. In the meantime, we must go towards the tent. I do enjoy food.
Yes, and I believe there's a ceremony waiting for you there.
Ah, that is good.
They've been shouting your name. The other one, Avox'Amar. That's your god's name. It would be improper of you to miss your own ceremony.
Thank you. Shall we walk towards the tent?
I suppose so.
Servant of Avox'Amar.
He nods to you, about the closest you've ever seen this man do to a bow.
While he's bowing,
but nodding. But
while
yes.
he's nodding, I reach for my dagger, and I pull it out as fast as I can, and I jam it into his neck as he is nodding.
He pulls out his dagger in response, but he is not fast enough. And the dagger sinks into the soft spot of his neck, and he looks at you in shock.
And I reach forward, and I grab him by the neck, and I look him in the eyes. Human, you have much to learn. And I lower him to the ground.
And he tries to say anything, but the blade has cut through his windpipe, and no sound can escape. And he falls to the ground, dead.
And I push his body into the side. Is there a latrine nearby?
Yes, it's a bit to the edge of the camp, but you're able to move the body fairly quickly to the latrine.
I toss it in with little care for his body, and walk back towards
I
the
assume
camp.
you take your knife out and don't forget that plot.
Oh yes, definitely. It's I clean it against his body as I sheath it again, and head back towards the camp.
We've the first follower of death, appropriately, is now buried in the latrine. And you go back, and Gadeo sees you, and just, the full reverence of his eyes. He does not seem very good at acting, but he does seem very good at staying quiet. But he sees you, and he just kind of he almost physically stops himself from bowing towards you. Lace sees you and puts his arm around you and rocks your body, and Gadeo almost seems horrified. He's just oh my gosh. But Lace doesn't care. He gives you a mug of ale and continues to sing songs at your face. Not with you, at your face. And you dig back into the meal, and you talk, and the feast goes on into the night. And after you're full, and after everyone's full and beginning to calm down, you can see Arakion. Subtle difference. Arakion, the war chief, stand up, and immediately the army goes quiet. And he looks about his men and he says, "I have heard there was one of you who broke through the lines at the wall of the Avaevat. One of you who was blessed by Balkoth that very moment, and who Balkoth chose to be his warrior and his champion in this fight. This name has been whispered to me by my priests and my advisors and the very soldiers that saw him fight. Come forward, Avox'Amar." And everyone just looks at you.
That's me. I stand up and slowly walk towards Arakion.
Arakion.
Yes. Sounds like a gang member. Anyway, yes. I walk towards him.
And he sees you, and he puts you up into the front. He's at a table that is where he can see his entire army, all 3,000 of them. And he puts you in front of the table, and he steps around to the side so he can see you. And he turns around, and again, his voice is magnified. Just naturally magnified so everyone can hear him. And he shouts, "This man is a paragon of what it means to be a fighter and a dominator and a champion. He was chosen because of his skill and because of his willingness to take the lives of those who oppose us." And he looks at you, and he reaches into his pocket, and he pulls out a steel medal, and it is an insignia of that same woven blade that the officers have on their uniforms, and it's on a string, and he puts it around your neck, so the medallion hangs at your chest, and you know, based on intimate experience, that this is the symbol of Balkoth and of Balkoth's blade.
Oh my gosh.
And he turns to his army, Arakion, and he shouts, "Everyone, follow his example as we move forward into the north. Next year when we cross the mountains, once the winter frosts have thawed, I expect all of you to fight like this man." And they all cheer and shout your name, and soon there's a chant, "Avox'Amar, Avox'Amar, Avox'Amar," as they all, in a very drunk stupor, just get absolutely hype, cheering you on and just enjoying your glory.
I make eye contact with Giedo.
Hideo,
right.
And you make eye contact, and he's clapping, he's trying to fit in with the crowd. And Arakion looks at you, and he actually whispers into your ear, "You're being sent back. You fought well. I want you to make an example in this city. You will be treated well. You will be what Balkoth desires us to be. Because of your ferocity, I will show these men what happens when someone does well. So I'll be sending you home. You'll be treated as a prince there. Enjoy your leave of absence, soldier."
Thank you, my lord.
And he backs off, and he gestures so you can leave.
I bow and leave. Back to the table.
And you walk through the crowd of soldiers, cheering your name, cheering this name that you pulled out of thin air, almost. And they are just loving you so much, and you walk, and you are adored, and you sit at your table, and Hideo looks at you. And he is in shock still.
Care for some ale? And I hand him a jug.
He stares at you, wordless, consistently and always wordless, in the sight and the presence of someone that he now believes fully is a god. And that is where we will leave off. My dear listeners, we will catch you all next week.
Heck yeah!
Episode 9. I am Avox'Amar. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.